Hello, 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 and welcome to week one of the Important Nonsense Waiver Wire Show. I'm your host at Javanagh87, Jack Cavanagh, but really the star of this show is at that FF nerd, Jason Draven, the Waiver Wire Wizard.
Hey man, how's it going? Yeah, this week we're already definitely needing the waiver wire. There's been some big injuries, and I think this is a perfect time to try and do something live and hopefully get some people to watch. We'll actually see if that works out or not, but it's different from the regular show, and maybe people watch this more. Who knows?
And there's some big injuries that are confirmed, looking at you, Elijah Mitchell. And then there's some big injuries that are just flying a little bit under the radar. Everyone's talking about Najee Harris's foot. They're hoping that he can play versus the Patriots, and it's not a big deal. But even these not serious injuries, we gotta churn the waiver wire. There are just so many players that we have to look at.
Yeah, and it's just so brutal. I mean, starting off this week, there's a lot of hype, and of course, like everybody else, I had my hits and misses, but I'm excited to see if we can't start helping people. And I mean, I think the position we should probably start with is quarterback with Dak being out. I think that's probably a good place to start. Looking for replacement for that, or
Cooper Rush, is he an option?
Oh, no. I'm definitely not. That offense without Smith at the tackle, and now they just lost their guard. Oh my gosh. Why can't it? Well,
they lost Connor McGovern.
Yeah, I was like, they lost another lineman, and that just hurts them even worse. So it's going to be rough sledding for that team, and I'm actually going to stay away from them completely for any kind of fantasy options.
No CeeDee Lamb, no Zeke.
Nope, I'm not touching it, man. I might go CeeDee Lamb, but it would really be based on the matchup, and I'm hoping that Cooper Rush just hyper focuses. But if anybody, I'd probably go with Schultz instead of CD. I mean, have that underneath guy, have to have somebody dump off to. Part of the reason I was high on him this year is because with Smith going out, you have to get rid of the ball quicker.
So all Cowboys are out, avoiding all Cowboys. Back to the quarterback.
Sorry, got sidetracked.
No, that was my fault. I led you down that rabbit hole. That is completely my fault.
So I'm actually going to go with a name that is familiar from last year in Carson Wentz. He found a new team. He is 16.6% rostered currently in ESPN leagues. Granted, last week was against the Jaguars, but this week he has the Lions. And while they are a much improved defense, which I'm sure Jack would know all about that, they looked a lot better this past week against the Eagles. I do think Carson Wentz looked better. I think that team is built very well. The fact that they were using Gibson the way they are as a check down option worked out very well. I was surprised to see him in that role as compared to J.D. McKissick. And so I think Carson Wentz against the Lions this week is an easy stream. Can easily be somebody that you can roster and just play. I guess most 2 quarterback leagues he's probably rostered, but he should be widely available.
He should be widely available because I don't know if you know, Carson Wentz has a history of being terrible. He did throw 2 interceptions yesterday, only rostered in 16.7% of ESPN leagues, according to our waiver wire article over on Important Nonsense. And if you want to check that out or anything else, why don't you subscribe to the Patreon while you're at it? ImportantNonsense.com. Patreon.com/important nonsense. And since you're already on the internet, hit us up with a question for the waiver wire while you're at it. Imagine using a wide receiver converted to running back as a wide receiver. Go figure.
It works out. I wonder why that worked out so well. But, you know, that role that they wanted him in was clearly a running back instead of a wide receiver. Not sure why they aren't adjusting to use him as a wide receiver, but, you know, the world is a mystery.
So you're not worried about Carson Wentz imploding? That's not going to happen again?
Not next week, that's for sure. I like the Lions. I think they do look good, but, man, he's still going to have to throw. And when he throws, he can find a target. I mean, you saw how well he did with Pittman last year. This year, it's kind of looking like Samuel, which is terrifying. But Gibson is still a good check down. So
He's got options. Terry McLaurin had the deep touchdown. Curtis Samuel had the wide open touchdown in the end
And
zone.
my boy,
Jahan
Dotson
Dotson for 2.
Let's go. I was so pumped for him, man.
So I take it Jahan Dotson is on the waiver wire for you, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that it's going to take a little longer for him to develop because clearly Samuel seems to be the one at this point, had a lot of targets, was out there a lot more, but, he's going to learn the offense. And I think that moving forward, you saw how well he was used in the red zone, so at least you have that going for you.
Absolutely. And so that's something we should temper expectations on is touchdowns are not repeatable. They are not sustainable. So Dotson has 2 touchdowns, but is lower in the pecking order for targets. And so we should remember that. Don't get too far out over your skis on Jahan Dotson. Don't blow all of your fab. There are better wide receivers to roster. Before we get to that, though, any other quarterbacks alongside Carson Wentz, or is he the 101 of waiver wire QBs?
So it's tough because I really want to have a more definitive answer, but I think the next best option is going to be Matt Ryan. I mean,
okay,
he's, again, widely available. He has a good matchup next week against the Jags, who you just saw how that worked out for Carson Wentz. So, I mean, it's a good matchup. I have him as 24% rostered on ESPN. I think he's going to be a save option. He clearly loves Pittman, and Pittman has shown that he is a dominant wide receiver 1, and I am also excited for that. Finally, the man is getting I wouldn't say a massive upgrade, but it is a slight upgrade, and it clearly has the heart of Matt Ryan on his sleeve for sure.
Diggs by BTW7. Hey, what's up, G? Dropping in here from Twitch. Awesome. Appreciate you dropping by. If you have any questions, hit us up. Waiver wire, fantasy related, start sit, whatever. In the meantime, though, Wentz, Matt Ryan, quarterback, are we done here?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could say that I am really sad about it, but Baker Mayfield looked so rough. That O-line needs work. I mean, that'd be the other option I'd be looking at. So it's tough.
Might be a silly question, but Williams or Gordon tonight? I'm
assuming that's Javonte, clearly.
I would imagine.
Now that we've finally eliminated all the other Williams that are possibly available in the league. Yeah, I'm going to go with Gordon because because you'll appreciate this. Game time situations. The high value touches, I think Gordon still has that kind of under lock and key. They said that they want to use him in that situation. I mean, you saw your team, for example, another player that I was excited for was Jamal Williams because of the fact that they said they like him in that same role. He's going to be on important plays, and he got the touchdown. So it's rough sledding for Swift owners this year. I'm sure of it.
I mean, we're okay. He did put up,
that 100 yards, definitely
170 touchdown, couple receptions. Yeah, I think he was fine. Anyways, I will differ from Jason. I'm going with Javonte Williams because you didn't draft him in the second, third round to sit him in week 1. You can't do that. We can't overanalyze this. Start your studs. If we have to adjust later, that's fine. But Javonte Williams is the start unless you're Neck. And Neck wants you to start Cortland Sutton, which is the correct answer. Eek. I need 16 for the win. Javonte Williams, I think, is more likely to get you 16.
Yeah, he's more of the upside option for that. 16, you'll probably want Williams, but
Gordon's going to get you a solid 8.5 to 12.5 every week.
I was thinking above 12, at least this week.
All right. What about the rest of the running backs? Who are we looking at out there?
Well, you heard me mention one. I mean, but while I like Williams, like I said, it is going to be situational, so that's not a huge get for me. I'm actually looking at Khalil Herbert. The usage, the availability, he's still, let's see, I have him at 24%.
Yeah,
right?
ESPN's got him 25.
So he's went up 1% already. People are realizing his usage. He looked very good in that offense. Granted, Montgomery did drop a touchdown or had one skip off his hands and completely that hurt his week. And I think Herbert just took over from there and they needed him. And I think he looked much better than Montgomery in the touches that he had. So, and of course, it's that backup RB. I think that he's a good option, and I think that the team likes him more than they like Montgomery, which is why they didn't extend him.
Well, and this is a thing. You've talked about it. Jamal Williams is so he's taking the high leverage touches from DeAndre Swift at times. He did the same thing to Aaron Jones at times in Green Bay. And you look at that Green Bay coaching tree, you look on over in Chicago, Luke Getsy. He just came from Green Bay, and now he's treating Khalil Herbert like Jamal Williams and David Montgomery like a poor man's Aaron Jones. So it's possible that the Broncos do the same thing with Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. But for Khalil Herbert, that is, I absolutely love it. I think he is pretty equal to David Montgomery in talent. So at any point in the season, we could see him pass Montgomery in the pecking order. And we've got a fan here, Daniel Needbalek, who is also a fan of Khalil Herbert. Let's go. Mike, not sure what to do about Waller and Taysom Hill moving forward. Devontae sniping catches. Don't worry about Waller.
Yeah, Waller's going to be fine. That was a tough matchup. I mean, usually we play him pretty tough, but he can. If he has
James.
Yeah. Again, but at that same point, I'm a little more worried about Renfrow. They did see the same amount of targets, which is a plus. But again, I really think that Waller is going to be the one that you want. And clearly Adams. Adams has separated himself very dominantly in that offense.
Yeah. Devontae Adams is who we always knew he was. Doesn't matter about the quarterback. He is way up here. Outside the screen, honestly, at this point. He's up here. Darren Waller, way up here. Hunter Renfrow, I think he's a little bit down here. Don't worry about Darren Waller. The touchdowns will come. The targets are there, and he is a monster. Just got that contract extension, but I agree. Hunter Renfrow got really lucky in the touchdown department last year. He's going to be more of a move the chains guy, better in real life guy than a fantasy asset. So don't worry about Darren Waller. As for Taysom Hill, I just don't really care.
It's too risky. I mean, he's not consistent in how they use him ever. He needs that big run for a touchdown. It's just, it's rough. Oh, hey, thanks for being part of the Discord. Love it.
Bears Dan 34 in the Discord. Thanks again for the Hunt recommendation. You are so welcome.
That's my boy. Yeah. I think we really got saved by his touchdowns, but that's what they wanted to do with him, and it worked out. So,
and man, I will say, even though Chubb got more touches, Hunt outsnapped him, surprisingly enough.
But does it surprise you? Because he is the third down back. How many situations were they in where they had third downs? I mean,
this is true. And he was on the field at the same time as Chubb at some points. Stafford should be safe versus Atlanta next week. Yeah. Fields is my second QB, but maybe tough versus Green Bay.
I think Green Bay is going to be extremely mad about how they played this past week, and I would expect their defense to step up against Field. Yeah.
Well,
so Stafford should be safe.
Remember what happened last year with the Packers? They were great week one, no? No, they weren't actually. They were terrible.
I was trying to think of who they played, but I think it was...
There are a couple things that the Packers in recent history have proven they're not good at.
Week
one is week one. Number 2 is the playoffs. And number 3 is coming off the bye. Whatever it is, when Aaron Rodgers has time to rest, his performance goes down, as does the rest of the teams. That's your advice for the legend, Bears Dan.
Too funny. Yeah. Outside of that is another player that I think we were quietly talking about, and that was Daryl Henderson. He's still under 50% rostered.
That's shocking to me.
I'm telling you. Everybody was so high on Akers. Nobody thought to, I guess, pick up Henderson or just dropped him before week 1, which I didn't understand. But he was 45.6 the last time I looked at it. If it's gone up since then, great, because, man, I think that he is the running back to own. I know I'm completely different from Steve. Steve loves Akers, and I feel like a majority of people do, but Henderson has just looked so good when he's played, and coming back from Achilles, we saw them force him back early. Coming back, you're not 100% ever. You don't get back to that same level that you were at from an Achilles injury. I don't care what they say. I don't care how you look. You're not at that same skill set anymore. So while he is talented, he might just end up being less talented at Henderson at this point because he's got hurt, and that really is unfortunate for him.
I will say Daryl Henderson did not impress me at all. He got the snaps, he got the touches, but he had that 10-yard run, and that was it. Other than that, he looked just running into walls. And again, part of that's the offensive line. However, Cam Akers
and the Bills
is doing himself no favors. Everyone, I'm sure, has seen that highlight clip of him refusing to block the defensive tackle coming up the middle. So a lot of people worried about that. I still like Cam Akers, but you can't have Daryl Henderson unrostered in your league. That's absurd. You have to pick him up right now. Steve, a little bit worried about the Falcons defense. I think they played really good, but I also think that
he said he was impressed too.
Who said that?
That's what this says. I was impressed.
Oh, yes. Steve said that.
Okay. I was like, what are you talking about? He says he's impressed with it. I thought it was pretty good. I mean, overall.
Yeah.
But
no, they were very good. However, Stafford also played bad. They had extra time to prepare for the Falcons. I think the Rams will be just fine. Steve, I didn't love Akers. I just think he's a better version of Daryl Henderson.
Which might have been the case originally, but with that Achilles injury, I'm more nervous about it.
Mike, overvalued Komet, I think. Should I try the waiver to replace him? OJ Howard, Everett, Conklin, Taysom Hill are free agents this week.
So I think Komet is that touchdown tight end that everybody kind of looks for. But this past week just didn't happen because the Bears couldn't even get close. Of those options, I am definitely looking at Everett, with Allen potentially being out. Well, definitely out this week. So that would be your underlying option. And man, I'll tell you what, I have OJ Howard on my list of people to pick up, because with those two targets, he was the red zone option for him. And I thought for sure that it's going to be Nico Collins, and it was not the case.
The worry with OJ Howard, though, is he only played about 15% of the snaps. He was the tight end 3 in terms of play time. However, when he did see the field, he was phenomenal. So does he see an increase in targets? Does he,
as he learns the offense?
Yes.
That's why I think that impressed me the most. They trusted him in the red zone this early already, and he's only been there for a month.
I don't even think he's been there.
Yeah, I think it's less than that, but I was being generous. I was like,
he was a final cut. I think he's been there about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. So OJ Howard, because then he toured around a little bit. OJ Howard, very new. So that is the one worry, though, is you're not guaranteed production from OJ Howard. It could be 2 targets, 16 yards next week. However, the upside is just tantalizing.
On that same note, where because of the injury where Everett is valuable, I am also looking for that same reason at Hayden Hurst. Because of the fact that Higgins is probably going to be in concussion protocol. He could be back, but more than likely I can see them resting him and playing Boyd in that role. And then you have a wide open Hayden Hurst underneath who looked decent in that role. I was impressed. And randomly, the Bengals do love their tight ends, and he can end up scoring. So that always works out for you, right?
It can. It very well can. We all remember CJ Uzomah, who is very clearly the blocking tight end for the Jets. Tyler Conklin running all of the routes. So if you have CJ Uzomah for any reason at all, drop him. Conklin, he might end up being more consistent than OJ Howard next week, but Howard, again, has that sky-high ceiling.
Man, you read my mind. That was another option I had, too, was Tyler Conklin. I was like, he looked okay. He got the passing work, which matters.
Steve may also be low expectations of the Falcons going in. Yeah, no one expected anything. They played well, but they did give up almost 30 points to the Saints. So Let's remember
That was
that.
the second half of the game. They cannot finish out. They played just fine at the beginning.
So if we rounded out your tight ends, I think we've done tight end and quarterback. Mike just wants to clarify. So Everett, Howard, or Conklin is the target. Final answer. Everett was the one.
Yeah, I mean, in PPR, you're definitely going Everett here, especially with Allen out this week.
Yeah, Everett. I would say it's in that order. Everett, Howard, Conklin.
Yes, for sure. That would be the order for me as well.
Perfect. All right. Next position, go back to, have we rounded out running backs?
Kind of. I mean, we touched on Jamal Williams. We touched on Daryl Henderson. We touched on Herbert. This is actually I was happy that you said you wanted to do this with me because I want to ask the question that I know I'm going to get a ton this week. Jeff Wilson or Jordan Mason?
See.
Or do you think it's going to be Davis Price? I guess, because he was at healthy scratch, I think, and that made me nervous.
He was a healthy scratch, and that's why I don't think it'll be him. I think the answer is still Jeff Wilson for whatever reason. I think that they just love him. They trust him. What was end up the final split between those two?
It was brutal. I mean, watching that game, I was not happy. I mean, granted, I thought for sure because of the healthy scratch, it was going to be more dominant, but I feel like Wilson had. Well, actually, was he pulled? Didn't he fumble? I felt like he fumbled, which is why I was more curious about the Mason question. Okay, I have it up. Okay, Wilson had 9, and well, it doesn't even say that he touched the ball, so I don't know what the snap percentages are, but he had 9 carries for 22 yards, 2.4 yards a carry. Yikes.
Yeah, he didn't play particularly well, but he did get the carries. I'm going to pull up the snaps here real quick and just vamp in the meantime.
Yeah,
Michael
so
Berlin has a question. I think healthy scratch because of special teams, but Jordan Mason played. Here, he was active at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I was more shocked. The thing I was actually more surprised about was the healthy scratch of Tyler Algier. The second I saw that, I was like, it's Cordell Patterson time, baby. I was so pumped for him. It was exciting, and he clearly showed out. So
he did. And Tyler Algier, that was devastating. He'll probably play next week because Damian Williams is hurt. However, Avery Williams, the converted corner, that was massive. He ended up being the RB3, stepped in when the injury happened. All right, looking at it here, 40 snaps for Jeff Wilson and 0 for Jordan Mason.
Wow.
So Jeff Wilson is the back to roster, unquestionably.
Yeah, and he's 3.5% rostered. So also kind of surprising because, 49ers backfield.
I'm glad I picked him up in one league on Sunday, actually. Go me.
Yeah, that's usually a safe play. If you have somebody you can just drop that isn't going to be valuable or like as a second quarterback or whatever, that would be an ideal situation to constantly add and drop that person.
Yeah, when the waivers go in, you pick up the backup to players that are already hurt. So you pick up Jeff Wilson and you pick up Jalen Warren backing up Najee Harris. And then when nothing happens, you drop them immediately. No cause, no harm, no foul. Anyways, wide receiver.
All right. So this is more of a really weird situation, but I'm going to say, I said it when I saw that he was healthy. Sterling Shepard is going to give you a solid floor.
Yeah. Shockingly enough.
That slot guy and Daniel Jones, he just absolutely loves Shepard. I was surprised to see Robinson on the field, and the lack of Tony was
and the problem
depressing.
was Robinson got hurt, and we still didn't see Tony.
Yeah.
Richie James was operating ahead of Kadarius Toney,
which blows my mind because the dude is super talented.
Did you see the run he had? They gave him an end around.
That's
why do you not want that on the field?
The only thing I can think of to deal with this is maybe he doesn't understand the playbook. That is legitimately the only thing. Is Dayball came in and is just like, you don't get it, we can't fix it. You have to learn it.
Even still, there's ways around it. There's things you can do.
Well, I think don't you think that's the issue with Devin Singletary and Zach Moss is that he was like, you don't know the playbook, I'm not going to play you.
In terms of James Cook?
Well, no. For when he was the offensive coordinator for the Bills.
Oh, okay.
That's the only thing that is coming to my mind. And also the reason I love Shepard or Wan'Dale Robinson if Shepard was hurt, because of the fact that he loves the slot. That slot guy is probably going to see 100+ targets this year.
And showing no signs of the Achilles whatsoever. I agree with you there. Next receiver.
Okay. This one, I'm going with a very low ownership percentage again. And I think it's because of the fact that Joe Flacco is the guy and Corey Davis is the target. He saw so many of them. He was clearly the one. And the next two below him were tied with Moore and Wilson. Like that, Davis had separated himself, and I think that is his guy. I think he's going to be a safe play for you week in and week out. And if you're looking for upside, I still like a rookie here in Romeo Doubs. Dude looked good. I even in that busted offense, he somehow was able to do well enough, and I think there's still plenty of upside for him.
Even after Alan Lazard returns?
Yeah, because I think Alan Lazard's going to take the tough coverage. You'll have that guy that's on the opposite side that can just run away with it. Outside of that, the next person I would be the most interested in is Zay Jones. Again, like I said, I've been looking at rostership percentages all day, and the way that he was used in that offense, he seems to clearly be the two. It's hard not to love him, and I think that'll be a solid option for them all year. Again, putting up great numbers because that team doesn't have the best defense. And when you don't have a defense, that means you have to catch up and throw a lot. So,
yeah, the Jacksonville Jaguars will be slinging it up and down the field all season long because they cannot keep people contained whatsoever. So maybe Trevor Lawrence sees a boost in fantasy down the road because of it if he stops turning it over.
Yeah. And, the list for wide receiver is wide open. The fact that Devin Duvernay finally had some relevance blew my mind. I was way too early, I guess. My love for him was never ending in the beginning, but it fell off when I thought he had no chance, and thankfully he is showing some lives. The other surprising thing is Robbie Anderson. Is he going to be the one? Like, what happened to DJ Moore? Do you have an idea?
Well, Robbie Anderson did have the busted coverage, so that is why he put up so many fantasy points. We can't forget that. I wouldn't worry about DJ Moore. He did draw Denzel Ward. He did draw one of the best corners in the NFL. Meanwhile, Robbie Anderson was going up against the 3, and because he's the other outside wide receiver, and so they have Greg Newsome in the slot. I can't even remember who the 3 is because Greedy Williams was out. I think it might have been Herb Miller or it was a rookie, Martin Emerson. So I wouldn't worry too much.
All right. I got to know. Do you have anybody that I didn't name that you'd be targeting at wide receiver?
Yeah, there is one actually. And I'm surprised you missed it.
Did I miss it?
Josh Palmer.
Again, just my only worry is the fact that they use Carter so much.
But Palmer outsnapped Carter, even if he was getting the targets. Palmer with Keenan Allen out this week with the hamstring injury. And even when Allen comes back, he's going to be a feature in this offense. The boom weeks will come.
Yeah, I love Palmer, but again, it's just the fact that he's the 3 when Allen is healthy. The other thing that really, dang it, you got me on the Chargers. You had to do it. Why was Sony Michel on the field so much?
Yeah, he and Joshua Kelly kind of they had the same number of snaps.
It blew my mind that I just the fact
Sony
that he was
Michel's
already out
be
there.
Your RB2.
I know, but God, why I don't get it. I mean, and if Julio Jones is available, that would be another option. I mean, now that we know that Godwin's out for a few weeks, I think
with
that
the
he'll see some.
hamstring.
Yeah, we'll see some targets for sure.
Julio, one of the fastest players in the NFL, even
You s-
still at his age.
Blew my mind. The fact that they said that about their team was just incredible.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
We will get you out of here on that. Thank you for tuning into our first episode of the Important Nonsense Waiver Wire Show, and we will see you next time.